Hey everyone, it's Crystal here. So when you ignore how you're feeling, the symptoms you're experiencing, and other things that are associated with the stress that's resulted in burnout, can you only imagine what's going on with you or what's happening with you? And just think about it in life. When you ignore anything, it could be the most insignificant thing. And sometimes it's for our greater good, ignoring them, because we block them out. But when they're important, when they're dear to you, when they're kind of part of your life and you ignore them, you know that you're just putting it aside and it's always going to be there. It's not going to go away unless you give some attention to it. It's always going to be there. It's always going to show up. And so when you ignore things, you're not putting the right attention. You're suppressing, you're pushing down. You're trying to move away, move aside from things. And sometimes when you have these sensations from burnout, this is your body trying to communicate with you to tell you that there's something going wrong. There's alarm bells, there's a big red alarm going off. It's a siren that's trying to say, hey, help me, help me. So this is the way your body is trying to communicate with you to let you know that there's something going on, there's something wrong. And so when you ignore them, you're not giving them the right attention, the right requirements that it needs. And that's truly something that really can be very dangerous, because as you ignore things and as you don't give the attention that it needs, it can prolong, it could even progressively get worse and turn into something else and something else. And you may find that ultimately you're dealing with all these different moving parts because you ignored the one thing that you could have paid attention to, or maybe a series of things and you just didn't give it the right attention. So it's kind of like if you had a puppy dog or any kind of animal, but I'll just use a puppy dog for this. And you ignored it, and it kept asking you to go use the bathroom, and really needed to use the bathroom, and you're too busy, you're caught up in whatever you're doing, things, pile up, and maybe you have a lot on your plate, and you just ignore it. You say later, you can wait, you can hold it, and then that puppy dog just, unfortunately, has to go, and it goes. And then you get upset, because well, first of all, you get upset because it did what it did, where it probably shouldn't have gone. And then you start feeling guilt because you didn't do anything about it. You could have, but you didn't. And that's the same thing for your own self. If you ignore it, it's going to break sooner or later. It's going to have to. Or it's going to amplify in ways that maybe you didn't even consider. And so then, once it starts getting worse, maybe you're hit with the guilt. The guilt of feeling like you could have done something about it had you just paid attention to it from the onset, but maybe you didn't. So it's this kind of attention we need to bring ourselves when we are feeling ways, when we do have symptoms, when we are experiencing some things. Because this is our body, like I said, trying to communicate that there's something more going on. And stress can do this to you. Stress can induce things, can make your body's chemistry start changing. It can make your whole physical being completely morph and go down a path of a lot of pain and suffering. So when you're noticing that the pain is taking away, when you notice that the stress is taking away from your quality of life and that you're starting to experience some odd things to your body that you didn't have before, then this is maybe time for you to evaluate what's really going on, what's happening, what's behind all of this, and really reframe the way that you've habitually dealt with stress. This has been a long time in the works, and the way you deal with stress has always been ingrained in you. It's something learned from a long time ago. So this is something that's already been within you, and maybe, just maybe, it's not working the way it's supposed to right now, because perhaps your response is not the healthiest response you could potentially have, which could then lead to better outcomes. So finding someone that can really work with your thoughts and feelings and your emotions and guide you through a way where you can work with them, work through them, and try to start working past them, and also redesigning the way you deal with stress, because this is the way that we can create great coping skills to deal with them. And let's be honest, stress will never go away. There will always be stress in life. I mean, it's just a part of life to have some stress, but when you're not dealing with it in a very healthy way, when you're letting it take away from your well-being, then that's when it's starting to become problematic and really should be considered to be remedied at a certain time. So bring some awareness to what's going on with you, in your mind, in your body, and don't ignore things because they don't go away. They'll just stay there and nag at you. It's like a fly that just never dies. It's always buzzing around and it gets irritating, gets annoying. So do something about it before it gets to the point where it just snowballs into way worse. So I hope you're able to get some value out of that today. I'll see you soon.